this is Tiffany with Spot On, and I don't have a whole lot of time, so I actually set my alarm because I know sometimes when I start to speak about spirit, I get really juiced up and I could go on and on and on for a very long time. So I'm going to a psychic meetup tonight, which I'm really excited about because we just give and receive readings, and it's so much fun, and it's great practice to flex your psychic muscles if you're into that kind of thing, which I am. I've even gotten like friends and stuff to go, and it's great. So anyway, that is not what I was going to talk about, so let's get back to what I was going to bring to the table today. So I just wanted to start by just kind of talking a little bit about myself and really just what's brought me here to want to share with you guys. So my mother was very psychic. She could read cards, like playing cards, and it was awesome. Like, she would do that at the kitchen table, and she was really spot on. My aunt also is psychic, and she went pro with it, and so they have all kinds of great stories. And so I was around that. Now, I didn't grow up with my mother, but I got very close to her when I moved to Denver back in 2005. And so I got to experience it firsthand and what it was all about. So several years ago, I was in a place where I knew there was something more, and you know, through my mom's testimony of what was beyond, I got a greater perspective on things. Growing up in the South and in the Bible Belt, I was a little bit, you know, cautious about the whole God thing and Jesus and blah blah blah, because it was a scary thing for me. It was something that, yeah. So we won't get into all of that. I'll just stick to what brought me here. So, basically, I had been exposed to a lot of psychic activity, my mom doing readings, and my mom really helped me to understand that for her, God was something that you don't really define, and she said, if you have a punishing God, then fire that God and get a new one. And that was a whole new perspective for me. I was like, ooh, no, she didn't just say that, 'cause she's gonna burn in hell. Sorry if that offends somebody, but I don't believe that. I don't believe in a punishing God. And so basically I was brought to this point where I believed in a lot more than before, because I'd witnessed a lot through my mom's readings, and I knew there was something to it, yet I didn't have like a visceral experience or a connection to spirit. I mean, I had glimpses of that growing up, but I didn't recognize it as that. I wasn't totally aware of that. I always kind of had a feeling something else existed. I really wanted that. I was on a quest and a longing to understand more. I don't know what that was. I think it was a feather. I really have no idea what that was. So I think, you know, when you have that like burning desire to understand more, that innate curiosity, it brings you to a place where you find it, you find it, and there's a reason, I believe, that you find it, and that you have that inside of you to want to know that. And all I can say is that from my experience, it has to be a personal experience. I am not going to sit here and tell you that there's something more that exists. I know that I'm on this journey, and I can't define it for you. You have to find it for yourself. I'm not going to sit here and preach to you. I'm simply telling you my amazing, wonderful, awesome experience with a greater power, that there was something more than myself working in my highest good. I had experienced my mom and my aunt's readings, and there was a night where they blew me out of the water, and it broke me open, and it was something unbelievable. And I just knew from that point on, I was scared, because when you're broken open like that, like, it's a lot for your ego to handle, and it's surreal, but you cannot deny it. Like, your thinking, like, goes crazy, because you're trying to, like, make logical explanations of how this could possibly be, and really that's where your journey begins. So for me, and I think for a lot of other people, you start to read a lot. You know, you want to read all kinds of spiritual texts, metaphysical texts, anything you can get your hands on to understand more. And so that's what I did, and I wasn't totally sold on a lot of things. I would believe one minute, but then, kind of waver and go back and forth and this and that. Because for me, it was all still very intellectual. For me, God, spirit, whatever, was outside of myself. It was something out there. And I'll explain more of that in a little bit. So there was really like a breaking point for me. And what happened was I was going to school, and I was doing what I thought I wanted to be doing, which was interior design. And I loved it. I was very passionate about it, although I was falling apart. I was falling apart inside, and I was falling apart outside. And I was struggling in the morning to get up. I was struggling to make things happen. I was just at a place where I needed more meaning to my life and understanding. And so I remember one morning in particular, I laid in bed and I thought, okay, I'm going to pray to whatever is beyond, I'm not going to call it God, because I was still kind of like, ooh, the G word, ooh. But, so I did. I just said, okay, I know there's something beyond this, and I knew that from, other personal experiences through what had recently been occurring in my life with my mom, but also I did feel the spirit of my father come to me when he died. No one contacted me, and he came to me in the middle of the night and had me Google his obituary. So he had passed 2 weeks before that. So I knew that I was psychic. I knew that there was something more beyond this life. There was no possible explanation for me to know that. And so that was something for me. Of course, my ego had a field day with it, trying to make up all kinds of reasons, which is what we do, and that's okay. It's just who we are, and it's something we deal with, and that's a part of who we are here in this physical meat cage. So anyway, let me get back. So I was laying in bed one morning in particular, and I remember praying, and I'd been reading a lot about angels. And I was just like, oh God, or whatever, if there's like this divine creator or something beyond myself. Like I had read Journey of Souls, which was it's a really cool book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's very interesting and it explains a lot. But for me, it was explaining in a way that I could intellectually understand before I could really have that deeper connection beyond my mind. So I had read Journey of Souls, and I had all these questions and things, and I just prayed and I said, I'm just struggling to get up. I'm not depressed. I'm just kind of complacent and needing more meaning in my life and wanting to know where my purpose lies and all of these things. And I prayed for an angel. I was having a lot of trouble in my personal relationships with especially my boyfriend at the time, who is still one of the most amazing people in my life. But we've been through a lot, and we struggled a lot, and we've been each other's teachers. And but yeah, it was during a very rough stint for us. And so I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for an angel, and I was very persistent. And I kind of had this vision of like an angel just walking up, knocking on my front door and being like, "Hey, I'm here to rescue you." It didn't exactly happen that way, but it did happen. My prayer was definitely answered, and to this day, I will never forget this, ever, because it's my experience of what really cracked me wide open spiritually and took me deeper within myself to a place of knowing, not just thinking, but knowing in my own experience that nobody else can take away from me and no one else can understand but me. So I was in this place where I was asking for the angel and not really feeling very motivated to get a job, which I really needed at the time. My boyfriend was like, "Girl, if you don't get a job, or you're having issues," and it was really tough. Struggling with school, trying to make it all work. I was lost. I was really having a hard time. So then the most amazing thing happened. I found, I think Spirit knew how to reach me through books, because I love books and I love reading, but I wasn't very motivated to do much of anything, and I kept getting psychic like hunches of the word ing, I-N-G, ing, 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 and it was very repetitive. And from what I had read and learned a lot about being psychic and your intuition, which I read a lot of Sonia Choquette's books, I knew that you got, your psychic hunches could be claircognizant, where you're thinking, it could come to you in thoughts. Clairsentient, which is feeling. You feel it, like you feel it inside, a feeling. Sometimes you get a smell, which I forget what that one is. Something very strange. If you guys know, you can post it. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, tons of other things. Clairvoyant, visions, I get that a lot. Clairaudient, you hear. So I was doing all of this. I had a dream that I had a baby and named her Ing, I-N-G. And then I was like, whoa, that's a very bizarre dream and very specific. So it was strange. So I just kept it in my mind. And I was like, all right, okay, that's weird. I'll take it. But I wasn't really sure what it all meant. It was very weird. And then I watched a movie, and one day I was just like decided to watch a movie, and in the movie the girl's friend's name was Ingrid, but they called her Ing like over and over. So then I'm like, why am I'm gonna have a baby, I'm gonna name her Ing, like, okay, weird. But it was synchronicity, like it was the second thing. Then every day after that I woke up with my eyes, I'd be on like laying on my side, which is how I sleep, like this, all hunched up, and it hurt my neck and it's terrible. But I was sleeping on my side and I opened my eyes, and the blinds where the window was has this little spot on it that says Ing, right where the warning sign was, but it was always covered up. And so I only saw ING, and that was the first thing I saw every morning. And I'd never noticed it. We'd lived in this apartment for a couple of years, and I never noticed it before. It was weird. And so I was just like, okay, maybe we didn't live in that apartment for a couple of years. Maybe it was just a little bit of time, but whatever at that point. We lived there for a few years. But I had never noticed that until then, so it was weird because it was like synchronicity. And I'm going, okay, I'm listening. All right, I'll take it. So then it was like some random Saturday or something. My boyfriend is an IT guy, and he needed like a certain book. So he's like, hey, do you want to go check this? Do you want to go with me to this like IT type bookstore or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. He went inside. I stayed in the car because I was like, boring. He went in. And he came out and he's like, it's not there. We have to go to Borders. I think they might have it at Borders. So we went to Borders. And of course that will get my butt out of the car in a hurry because I love books. So I don't even think we have Borders here in Denver anymore. I think they are all closed, which is too bad because I liked it. I like Barnes & Noble too. But Borders was a cool place. So anyway, I'm walking around and there's this big display of this girl on top of a book that's on a display in the middle of the store. Not the metaphysical section, not the self-help section, the middle of the store. There's a display of books, and there's a girl with angel wings on a skateboard, and the back says Ing in bright pink letters. Ing, Ing, Ing. It's everywhere. It's all over the freaking store display. And I'm like, what the fuck? Excuse my French, but seriously, I was like, whoa. So I was like, I have to get this book. Obviously, I have to get this book. So I went and I picked up the book and I opened it up, and it was about happiness and needing to be happy. And I'm like, I don't care, like this book must be for me. At that point I literally thought like this is probably one of those like books where you sit by the pool and you hang out and you read it, and it's like about like love affairs and like fun stuff. That's what I thought. But I was just kind of like, obviously it was for me. I don't know what was in it. I thought it would be something. I knew something in that book, whether it be the story of the book, if it's fiction or whatever, it was meant for me to read. It was something I had been asking for. So I got the book, and it's by Gabrielle Bernstein, and it's called Add More Ing to Your Life, A Hip Guide to Happiness. I went home and I did not put that sucker down for an entire year. I worked every single practice in that book, which is basically a modern interpretation of A Course in Miracles, which you may have heard of. And I'm really getting close on time here, but I have so much more to say. I'll just say this, that that book and Gabrielle Bernstein taught me how to go within to find happiness. When I learned that it's not out there and there's two voices, there's fear and there's love. And the loving voice is the voice of your intuition, and the voice of fear is your ego. The voice of shame, the voice of fear, the voice of guilt, the voice of blame, those are all your physical conditioning. That's not who you naturally are. That's not the source that's within you. And she refers to your ing as your intuition, which connects you to your higher power and that great source within us. And that source that we all go back to, that I just call God. You can call it the universe, you can call it whatever you want, but this was my experience, and it took me deeper, and it connected me, and I will never ever forget it, no matter how much my ego tries to tell me. I will always remember that. And just so you know, Gabrielle Bernstein is one of the biggest mentors of my life, and have been following her for years. She has other great books too that I've read, but you guys should really check her out if you haven't, and especially if you're a young woman. She really gears a lot towards young women, but there was like a time I've heard her say a lot of times that Marianne Williamson, who is also a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, was her mentor, and she has to be careful not to make her special, because the ego likes to make you either like better than somebody or like less than. There's no in between with the ego. You're like, oh, I'm so much better than that person, or less than. So even with like your mentors, sometimes you look at them like, they're so amazing, and the truth is that sometimes you're taking your power away by doing that, because they're a reflection of you and your greatness. And so I love Gabrielle Bernstein. Okay, she's awesome. And so she said this about Marianne Williamson, so I think that Gabrielle Bernstein is my Marianne Williamson, for her Marianne Gabrielle Bernstein is to me what Marianne Williamson is to Gabrielle Bernstein. Boom! So check it out if you haven't. But just remember that the voice of love is your intuition. The voice of love, the loving voice that you can always hear. There's this loving voice and there's the not so loving voice. And that's it. It's that simple. We try to make it way more complicated. But it's within you. It's within. Meditate, go within. If you don't know how to meditate, learn how to meditate, 'cause it's awesome. Guided meditations are great. And that's my story. That is what brings me back every time, is that memory. And that's what cracked me open to this beautiful world within me. And as soon as I found out that it's all within me, and I create it. I'm a powerful creator within. I can visualize. I can feel my way into my reality. I realize that everything within me creates everything out here. This is all an illusion. This is all your playing field. And when you align with that greater source and you're in the highest good, you find your purpose and you're happy, and it's awesome, and it's your birthright, and I could go on and on and on here. But that's really just what I wanted to say. I really just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about myself and my journey, and there's a lot more than that, but that was a very pivotal point for me that took me deeper within. So I wanted to share it. And I am going to run off now to my psychic meetup and deliver messages if I feel so inclined to do so, which I love to do, and be open to receiving as well, because these people are awesome. And yeah, so I'm gonna go have fun and enjoy this, and until then, peace and blessings and lots of love. Mwah! Always in my heart.